Hey guys, welcome back to the Shawn Sear Show. Yes, that's still a name, but here's where we are, and we are helping individuals and entrepreneurs and leaders get past those obstacles that are in their way, some self-imposed most of the time, and allow them to progress, to allow themselves to grow, to allow their businesses to grow. And I've actually been sitting with some friends and family members, and I put out the idea, hey, I would love a really cool name for my podcast. I've got a few suggestions. I may put those out and see what others think as well. Um, but keep them coming. Some pretty cool. And I'd like to welcome you back to this show. In this episode today, we're talking about action. So by now, you've done the clarity work. You know where you're going. You've been working on your leadership and self-leadership, most importantly. You've probably been hopefully working on your energy and protecting that. And that's all fantastic, but here's the uncomfortable truth. None of that matters if you don't take action, right? I mean, you can have the clearest vision in the world. You could be the most self-aware and emotionally regulated leader. You could have energy that would last you days and allow you to keep going. But if you don't actually do something with all that, you're just, thinking about it. And thinking about change is not the same as change itself. So before you think this is going to be one of those just do it, rah, rah, motivational rants, it's not. Because here's what I've learned. Most people who aren't taking action aren't lazy. They're not lacking the desire. They're just stuck, right? They're paralyzed by something. It can be fear. It can be perfectionism. It can be overwhelm. It can be uncertainty. It could be a combination of those things. So today we're going to talk about why action is so hard, what actually stops us, and how to break through that resistance and actually start moving. Because the A in clear, action, is where your vision actually becomes your reality. So let's get into it. I want you to think about something right now. What's one goal you've been thinking about for months, maybe even years, but you still haven't made any real progress on? Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation with someone. Maybe it's launching some kind of new service within your business. Maybe it's writing a book. It could be changing careers, getting healthy, rebuilding relationships, starting something new. You know what you should do, and you've probably planned it out multiple different ways. You might even started and stopped a couple of times, but you're not really doing it, right? You're not sticking to it. There's no drive. There's no consistency, which is the most important part. And I call this an action gap. It's that space between knowing and actually doing. And I'm going to share a story of an individual that I was working with. We're going to call him Rob. And Rob wanted to start a consulting business, and he wanted to consult it for a long time, about 3 years. He had the expertise, he had a network, and he had his niche. Like, he was really focused in on one specific thing, and I thought he'd be great at it and doing it. And he created not just one business plan, but multiple business plans. Even had designs ready for a website and the different things he was going to do. Even had a course. Sorry, drifting there for a second, but he had a course that was there and was practicing his pitch so he could sell this course to other individuals, but he would never launch, and when he would talk about it and I'd ask questions, there was always one more thing that he needed to do. Like, there was one more certification he thought he should get. There was one more round of edits to do on the website or on the book or on the course that he wanted to get out. Maybe there was one more person he was thinking he should get feedback from. But he wasn't really preparing to launch. He was using all of that as some kind of a shield to hide behind in preparing for things. So when we finally got honest about what was going on, here's what was really going on. He was terrified of failure, terrified that he put himself out there and nobody would actually care or listen, that he discovered he wasn't as good as he thought he was, and that he'd prove all of his self-doubts were right. So he stayed in the planning phase. Why stay in the planning phase? Because as long as you're there planning, you can't fail. The plan's always perfect, right? It's just this vision, this dream. But it's only going to be your benefit when you execute, and then your reality will show up. And here's the cool thing about reality, right? Sometimes we're expecting something bad to happen, and it really doesn't. So the action gap exists because of three main culprits. Number one is perfectionism. It's not ready. I'm not ready. Number two is fear. What if I fail? More importantly, what if you succeed? How about when we think about what people will think of us? And number three is overwhelm. This is too much. I have no idea where to start. So why bother get started? So here's the truth. You're never really going to feel completely ready. The work's never going to be perfect. And yeah, you probably will fail in some of the steps that you take, but you know what's worse than failing? Never actually trying and living with that regret for the rest of your life. The what if? What if I actually tried this? So if we're never going to feel ready and the work's never going to be perfect, what should we do? Well, I call this the embracing the principle of imperfect action. And imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. Common sense, right? So why would that be? Number one, action by itself will create some information. When you're stuck in planning mode, you're operating on a bunch of assumptions. You think you know what will work, what people want, what might happen, how you might overcome it, but you actually don't know until you really try. Action gives you some real data. You can put your offer out there and discover what resonates and what doesn't. You can have the conversations with people and learn from those people what they're actually thinking and what they want. You can then refine what it is you send out so you can get a better response. Uh, when you try to do this just by thinking, you miss the target. You really only get results from doing. Number two, action builds momentum. Newton's first law can actually be applied to life. Objects at rest stay at rest, and objects in motion stay in motion. And in order to get something into motion takes a whole bunch of energy, right? If we're thinking about a rocket going out into space, to break gravity takes so much energy. But once it's out there, once it's beyond that gravitational pull, simple puffs of air will move that satellite or rocket around out in space. And when you're moving, it's so much easier to keep moving, right? Every action you take, even a small one, will build some momentum. So it creates a track record to follow through. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. You're proving to yourself that you're actually keeping your word and doing certain things. And that momentum will then carry you through all the rough patches that are going to be in front of you. And there will be some. That's just life, right? Number three, action will reveal your next step. When you're planning, you're trying to figure out all the steps, 1 to say 100. And that's pretty overwhelming. And you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next stair. In fact, you don't need to see the whole road for your journey, but every step you take moves you closer to the destination and further along so you can see what's actually coming. So here's the secret. The next step only becomes clear when you take the current step. Action will illuminate that path forward. So how do we actually do this? How do we take imperfect action when everything in us wants to wait until it's perfect? So the imperfect action framework is the following. Step one, define the minimum viable action. What's the smallest step that you can take that'll actually move you forward? Not the best step, not the perfect step, but just the smallest step. For Robert, it wasn't launching his full consulting business. It was actually just reaching out to 3 people in his network and offering a free strategy session. And that was it. That was the minimum viable action. And when he started to do that, things started to happen. Step 2, you have to set a deadline. Okay, action without a deadline is just a wish. So pick a date. Please don't give yourself 3 months or even a month. You really want to try and get this done within a week. Urgency will actually help you in that action. It'll actually kind of fire you up a bit with the energy in the background. Number 3, you want to remove any escape hatches and excuses. So we're really good. Our mind is really good at coming up with reasons not to follow through. I'll do it if I have time. I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll do it after I finish these other things first. Call those escape hatches. Seal them up and make the commitment to your small minimum viable action non-negotiable. Step 4, take that action. This is where most people get stuck again. They define the action, they set the deadline, and then they pause because there's one more thing they probably need to do first, and they just keep telling them that stuff. So just tell yourself no. Snap your fingers. No, stop. I'm just going to do it. Messy's okay. Imperfect's okay. Done is better than perfect. Mel Robbins has an awesome book and a great strategy, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. It's like a launch thing, and it actually helped her get going. So if you feel like you're stuck, let's say you've got to make some phone calls. You're going to call out to family or friends or to prospective clients, whatever it is. Dial the number, put the phone in front of you. If you're not hitting the, I guess you'd call it a phone button to make the call to dial out, and you're stuck, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press it. Hey, phone's going to ring. Do not hang that phone up. Pick it up, get ready for the answer, and start talking. Hit a voicemail, leave a message, make your next phone call. That's how You're going to get through these things. And then step 5 is to learn and iterate. So after you take that action, if it was one call, I would say you should probably make 5 or 6. But if it's one call, that was your most minimum viable action, one call, sit down for a second and reflect. What worked, what didn't, what did you learn, what are you going to do differently next time? And more importantly, how did you feel? Was it really terrifying for you to do that? Did it really hurt you really bad to do that action? If not, the rest probably aren't going to either. And this is how you improve, right? It's not by planning endlessly, it's by doing, learning, adjusting, doing. Just continue that loop. So let's address the elephant in the room now, fear. Because for most people, fear is what's really stopping them from taking action. A fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. Some people even have a fear of success and what that means. Like, what does that mean? What are people going to think is one thing that comes back to judgment, but the other one is well, what does that entail? What are the next responsibilities? What do I have to do after that? Who do I have to become? Some people have a fear of discovering that they're just not as capable as they'd hoped they were. That's an ego burst. But guess what? If you aren't as capable then and you go for it, you can then, what do we say? Reflect, tweak, and then do again, and you'll just get better. So here's what I want you to understand. Fear is not really a stop sign. It's just information. So when you feel fear before taking action, it actually means that you care, or it means you're about to grow. Neither of those reasons is an excuse to not go and do it. They're actually reasons for you to lean into it. So I worked with someone, we're going to call this person Maria. And Maria was really wanting to speak in her industry at conferences, and she had the expertise. She had important insights. She was terrified of public speaking. Every single time an opportunity would come up, she would convince herself that she just wasn't ready, not that she was afraid. So when we were chatting about it, I just asked her, hey, what's the worst thing that could happen? And she was thinking about it for a while. I said, like, if you were to completely bomb, right, and maybe fall down too in front of people, what's the worst thing that could happen? And she said, well, people are going to think I'm not an expert. I'd probably be embarrassed and I might not get invited back. I'm like, okay, and then what? And she's like, I guess I'd go back to living my life. I'd still have my business. I would still have my family and my friends, and the world wouldn't end. And that realization was the powerful point for her. The worst case scenario wasn't actually that bad, but the best case scenario, that she'd do well, that she'd make an impact, that she could open new doors and continue down this road, that was worth the risk. So do a little weighing here and see what's going on. She ended up saying yes to her next opportunity. She was nervous, of course. Anyone that's not feeling excited about speaking is usually afraid of speaking. But you know what? She got up there. The world did not end. She did a good job and she got good feedback. And with that good feedback, she got better. And now she's speaking more frequently and having a blast doing it. So here's your framework for facing fear, the fear question process. Number 1, what am I actually afraid of? And be specific. Don't be general. Nail it down. Dig down. Remember clarity? That's right back into where we are here. What's the worst realistic outcome if that fear comes true? Be honest on it. Okay. Big question. Can I handle that? The answer is almost always yeah. It's not that life changing. Number 4, what's the best possible outcome if I move forward despite the fear? What's the reward versus the risk? And number 5, and this is a question that a lot of people will skip, what's the cost of actually not acting? Think down the road with the only if and what if I did this? Like, don't even leave that on the field for yourself. Get out there and do it. Take action. So the last question is actually crucial because there's a cost to staying stuck and there's a cost to never trying. There's a cost to living small, staying safe. You're actually meant for more and you can do more. Your brain is actually programmed for you to stay comfortable. So you need to quiet that voice down and just take a shot at it. Just live some life, all right? And sometimes the fear of regret needs to be bigger than the fear of failure. All right. So that's enough theory. Let's get into some real stuff here. And this is the action plan for this week. And I do mean this week. I don't mean someday or next month, or I'll put it off after I review these other episodes. Like, let's get busy. You've already been through them, right? So number 1, identify your one thing. So what's that one thing that you've been avoiding that if you took action with it would create the most meaningful progress toward your goals? Don't list 10 things. Don't list 5 things. Just one. And it's the one you've been thinking about and not really doing. Write it down, and then I want you to say it out loud. I want you to name it. Go ahead, I can wait. Good job. Number 2, make it a minimum viable. So what's the thing you can do to make this action smaller and break it up into a series of small little steps? And what's the absolute smallest version of that action that would actually count as progress? Okay, so if it's starting a business, maybe it's just setting up a meeting with some potential client. If it's having a difficult conversation, maybe it's just texting the person to actually schedule the meeting. If it's launching something, maybe just get 80% of it done and then start shipping it, because you can always add more to it, right? But make it so small that it's almost impossible to not do it. Step 3, create your 48-hour deadline. Don't give yourself a month to get this thing done. Get it done. Just get it out of the way. Put it in your calendar, set a reminder, tell somebody else so they'll hold you accountable to it, and get busy. Step 4, eliminate your excuses in advance. What excuses have you used so that you wouldn't follow through? And what are some other ones that you might? Write those down. Now, problem solve in advance. Like, what are you going to do when your brain tries to tell you, not yet, not yet? I don't have time. Okay. If just schedule the time. Now that's out of the way. Let's say you had to make phone calls and you said, well, I'm going to sit for 20 to 30 minutes with my phone and my list, and I can't go anywhere or do anything. I can't doom scroll. I can't watch YouTube. I can't do anything for this 20 to 30 minutes except make those calls. You'll either sit there for 20 to 30 minutes doing nothing, or you could 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 it and make some phone calls, and you'll start realizing just how easy it is, and that fear will disappear. What if I'm not ready is the thing. So what's the minimum preparation you actually need? Get the minimum done, then go forward. What if it doesn't work? So what? You're going to learn something, and then you can progress from there. Just get rid of those escape hatches, move forward. Step 5, take the action and then document it. So when you do it, and notice I'm saying when, not if, but when you do it, document it somehow. Maybe you can take a screenshot, you can write a journal entry. You can actually do what I'm doing with this Healthy Body, Healthy Mind challenge my brother and I are into. I'm recording my progress through the fitness portion and some thoughts on it. So that's available for people to check out. But it's there for me too, because I feel accountable now to put them out for him, for other people. Maybe this helps somebody, and I want that going. But I'm having fun going back and seeing where I was and watching the progress as I go and feeling the progress and the muscle aches as I'm going forward. So once you're done doing that and you've recorded it, it becomes a turning point for you. So this is when you stop becoming someone who thinks about things and you actually start becoming the person who does things. And then step 6, reflect and plan your next action. So after you take that, take 5 or 10 minutes and reflect. How do I feel now that I did it? Was it really that bad? Was it really that scary? What did I learn? What's the next imperfect action I need to take? And you're actually going to get pretty excited about it, because if you can get that one thing checked off, then the rest just starts to get easier. And don't stop with that one action, right? Use that to take the next one and the next one and the next one, and just stay consistent with it. The consistency is the key. So here's what I need you to understand. Everything you want is on the other side of action. Everything. You have clarity, you've got leadership, you can have energy, but if you don't act, you stay exactly where you are. Action is where you start to transform, and it changes potential into results. And it's what turns your vision into your reality. And I know it's scary, right? I know you don't feel ready. I know you're worried about getting it wrong, but here's the truth. You will get it wrong sometimes. You will make some mistakes, but you just have to adjust and try again. It's not life-ending. It's not earth-shattering, okay? The only real failure here is not trying at all. So in our next episode, what we're going to do is talk about review and reward, because action without any kind of reflection and any kind of celebration will actually lead to burnout. But that's next week. Right now, I need you to take one action, the one that you identified. I want you to do it within 48 hours. I don't want you to wait. I don't want you to overthink it. Just do it. Then do yourself and me a huge favor. I want you to let me know that you did it. You can send me an email to shawn.cccinc @gmail.com. That'll be in the comments as well, in the description. And you can also leave me a comment down below. And I do want to see it. I'd love to reach out to you and see how that went. Heck, you know what? I want to celebrate it with you. Here's what I want you to do. If you'll send that to me, if you'll put it in the comments below, I would like to acknowledge you with your permission in the next episode to say, hey, so and so actually have been doing the things they need to do, following this method, and here's the action they took, right? Let's broadcast it. Let's get it out there for people. So thank you for being here. Thank you for not just listening, but actually doing. If this episode gave you the push that you needed, please share it with someone who's stuck in planning mode. That's the most important thing. So until next time, stay clear, lead yourself well, protect that energy that you're developing, and take some imperfect action. And let's keep moving forward.